If you tell a Jew, listen, by the way, if you continue wasting seed, all your dreams of being successful, you can throw them in the garbage. Where even if you end up making $1 million, you should still cry. Why? Because you were supposed to make $1 billion. Whatever money you have was supposed to be a lot more. Where's our proof for that? Someone that watches their brit gets a reward from Shamayim to be the mefarnes, to be the person that gives sustenance to other people. How do we know this? In Parashat Shavua, we have the whole sipur with Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik had a big test in front of him where Eshet Potiphar, the wife of Potiphar, tried to seduce him. And Yosef HaTzadik overcame the test and did not allow it. Did not have to happen, even though it meant him going to jail for 12 years. He didn't fall for the test. For that reason, he was rewarded becoming the king of Egypt, the viceroy of Egypt, that not only made him very wealthy, but made the entire world depend on him. The entire world had to come to him to ask for money, including his own family, including Yaakov Avinu. Why? Because he protected his breed one time. From there we learn that somebody that protects their breed is not just someone that ends up being successful themselves, but also somebody that other people end up depending on, which is something that any normal person would want, because that's obviously something of immediate significance in the world. It means something. And that also is the reason why Hashem gives certain people a long life. Anyone that wants a long life should make sure that as many people as possible depend on him or her. Why? Because even if somebody deserves chas v'shalom to die, if he knows somebody that doesn't deserve to lose him, doesn't deserve to lose this person, they can stay alive just because of the merit of somebody else. So the point is that when a person watches their bleed, they become a helper for other people, and that also gives them another. If you tell a Jew, listen, by the way, if you continue wasting seed, all your dreams of being successful, you could throw them in the garbage. Even if you end up making $1 million, you just still cry. Why? Because you were supposed to make $1 billion. Whatever money you have was supposed to be a lot more. Where's our proof for that? Someone that watches their brit gets a reward from Shamayim to be the mefarnes, to be the person that gives sustenance to other people. How do we know this? In Parashat Shavua, we have the whole sipur with Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik had a big test in front of him where Eshet Potiphar, the wife of Potiphar, tried to seduce him. And Yosef HaTzadik overcame the test and did not allow it. Did not have to happen, even though it meant him going to jail for 12 years. He didn't fall for the test. For that reason, he was rewarded becoming the king of Egypt, the viceroy of Egypt, that not only made him very wealthy, but made the entire world depend on him. The entire world had to come to him to ask for money, including his own family, including Yaakov Avinu. Why? Because he protected his breed one time. From there we learn that somebody that protects their breed is not just someone that ends up being successful themselves, but also somebody that other people end up depending on, which is something that any normal person would want, because that's obviously something that means significance in the world. It means something. And that also is the reason why Hashem gives certain people a long life. Anyone that wants a long life should make sure that as many people as possible depend on him or her. Why? Because even if somebody deserves chas v'shalom to die, if he knows somebody that doesn't deserve to lose him, doesn't deserve to lose this person, they can stay alive just because of the merit of somebody else. So the point is that when a person watches their breed, they become a helper for other people, and that also gives them another opening to have a long. Time to stop. How do we stop? Why stop? Aside from being scared to death. How do you do tshuva for something like this? So a few things. First and foremost, tshuva is you have to stop immediately. You cannot continue the sin one more time. Someone starts, they don't do it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they fail. Is to make sure that you have to protect your eyes, because if you don't protect your eyes, if you keep watching movies, you keep looking at these magazines, keep watching stupid videos on the internet, you do all of that stuff, you're bringing Gehenom into your life. There's no way to avoid it. There's no way to avoid it. You watch, how the Israelis call it, shotef ta'inaim. You wash your eyes with looking at other women, you're bringing Gehenom to your life. Even if you want to stop doing it yourself, it's going to happen to you at night. What you have to do is you have to start looking at the floor. You can't walk around looking at every, one of these puppets that, shakes their head. You buy at the baseball games. You have to start watching your eyes. Yeah, it died again. It's okay. The phone's recording. Let's see how long that lasts. Satan doesn't want to see you online. Doing tshuva for something like this, this is something that could save a lot of people. Doing tshuva, you have to first start with watching your eyes. Second of all, you have to start practicing not touching at all. Limit it as much as you can. I know, normally, it's tough for a guy and so on. You have to do whatever you can. Whatever you can. Especially if you're single. If you're married, Baruch Hashem, you have your wife. If you're single, if there was a way to not go to the bathroom, I tell you don't go to the bathroom. Because when you're single, it's almost impossible. The third thing is, if you're single, you have to find yourself a wife. Stop being one of these losers that's 40 years old still looking for the perfect woman. Find a wife, be a normal person, don't worry about it. You'll be, you'll develop love over time. I'm serious. There's a bunch of guys that I went to school with. They're in their 40s and 45. They're still looking for the perfect one. Where they're looking for in clubs. No, I couldn't find the perfect one. I thought I had it. When? 20 years ago. Okay, what about now? You're 45 years old. What are you waiting for? Find a woman, settle down, get a wife. That's it. She doesn't have to be, the number one person on earth. Just find somebody, settle down. You'll develop love over time. If you guys have something in common, if you could tolerate each other, if you could have connection, you have chemistry, that's it. It doesn't have to be a Marilyn Monroe and one of these other, I don't know, Brad Pitt or something. These are just normal people. Build a family, build a future. Just have something in common. That's it. It doesn't require this shidduch crisis that we have today. Is all because we can't watch our eyes. The men can't stop looking at immodest women, so they think that the tzadikah that just came from Beit Yaakov is supposed to look like the prostitute he saw in the mall. And the woman, unfortunately, some women are very materialistic. Why? Because they watch TV, they look at these magazines, they see that all these celebrities have this and that, so the guy's chasing money so he can keep up with the girl's expectations, and they both drive each other crazy. There shouldn't be a shidduch crisis. There's plenty of men, there's plenty of women. I have every single day someone asking me if I have a shidduch for them. How could it be? There's guys that want shidduch, there's girls that want shidduch. What, you can't meet each other? What's the problem? Find yourself a wife. If it's not because of anything else, it's to stop this sin. Stop this sin. I'm telling you, it's such a horrendous sin. I had a lot of health problems. Anyone that wants to know my personal story, you can watch last night's shiur. It's online. Bezrat Hashem will be online tonight. I know suffering. One thing I understand is suffering. I had many, many years of suffering. Pain and screaming and surgeries and pills. All types of wonderful suffering. Baruch Hashem. I know what suffering is. I'm an expert in suffering. You want to know what Gehenom looks like? I could tell you. In this world, not the other one. I know what it looks like. I know what suffering is. You don't want it. You don't want suffering. It's a nightmare. You got to get yourself a wife. It's number 2. If you don't have a wife, get yourself a wife. Work on it. Work on it. Has to become, aside from learning Torah, has to become number 1. Number 3, just as the Rambam says, only type of people that waste seed, spend their time on this stuff, are people that are empty-minded. They have no chokhmah. They have nothing in their head, so they're bored to death. And boredom leads to sin, like Shlomo Melech told us. Can't be bored. Can't find yourself bored. What do? You got to go learn Torah. Stop being a batlan, doing nothing with your life. Watching sports is boredom. Watching television is boredom. You can watch TV for 9 hours and not even realize 9 hours passed. Because your neshama went to sleep. Your body is just dead. Nothing happens. It's the shell, whether the guy died or he lived, whether the team won or not, it doesn't affect your life. You're just wasting your life. You got to spend time developing your neshama, developing your brain. Ari HaKadosh here says, you want to rectify all the seed that you wasted? You have to sweat for mitzvot. Because each drop of sweat that comes out of your body due to a mitzvah is fixing one drop of seed that came out of your body. So in Simchat Torah, you should be the guy that runs around and sweats his eyes out with the Torah, celebrating for the mitzvah. You're supposed to be happy. Run around, have a good time. If it's hard in the kollel, you should study even extra. Hard in yeshiva, study extra. Sweat doing a mitzvah. Literally sweat. Because each one of them is mamash helping you out. Most important thing is you have to learn difficult Torah. Learning nice tzipuret tzadikim, listening to a nice story, yeah, it's fine, it's good, it's not bad. But for this sin, you have to choose your suffering. There's 2 types of suffering as far as this tshuva. It's either suffering by your choice, or suffering that's not your choice. So it's either you force yourself to learn difficult Gemara and pretty much to the point of ripping your hair out of your head and struggling at 1:30 in the morning, instead of going and get 8 hours of sleep, you only got 5 because you struggled to learn some Torah, or Hashem's going to give you different suffering. You don't want that suffering. You have to struggle. That's what Amal B'Torah is. Im bechukotai telechu. Orach Chaim, one of his 42 pirushim, says, Im bechukotai means Amal B'Torah. Means difficult Torah, learn Torah. That's difficult, that's not easy. The Midrashim is nice. Sipurei Tzadikim is nice. Little tape here, a little CD there, it's all nice. But if it's easy for you, it's not going to fix the sin. It's good for Torah, but not enough if you have the sin. When does a person create the most amount of destructive spirits? Now, every time somebody creates a sin, he's creating a destructive spirit. But there's one type of sin that creates an enormous amount of destructive spirits, and that is, Rabotai, wasting seed. When a man wastes seed, he's creating hundreds of millions of destructive spirits. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of them. Each one of those seeds is a destructive spirit that's sitting, standing right next to him, looking for an opportunity to punish him for it. Why? He says, Abba, how come you didn't give me a body? Abba, where's my body? Abba, my body. Hey, oh, what? And then Abba has a kid with a body. What does he want to do? He wants to hurt the kid now. Why? He's jealous of the kid. This is why until this day in Yerushalayim, there's a law. The children are not allowed to go into the cemetery with their father. When their father dies, Hashem Yerachem, they're not allowed to bring their father's tomb into the cemetery. Why? Those destructive spirits may kill them. This is mamash a law. This is not like, oh yeah, some people. No, mamash, not allowed. Why? It's 100% real. Also, you should know, this is the reason why when you go and have an aliyah in Bet Knesset, you have an aliyah in Bet Knesset, and they tell you, a Betzalel ben, you say, Amos ben, Yaron ben, and we always say usually, the mom. Why the mom? Why? Father's no good? What's wrong with the father? Why? Father's no good? Father's tzaddik. What's wrong with the father? It says if the father is still alive, there's a chashash, meaning there's a doubt, maybe he wasted seed. So he has no merit yet. Until he does tshuva, we have to use the mom because she didn't waste any seed. That's what we use the mom. That's what we use the mom. We only use the father after he passes. That's the reason. Why? Those destructive spirits, mamash, are next to us. They're next to us. Yes. Ken. Yes and no. The difference between someone that wastes seed on purpose versus someone that wastes seed in a dream is the level of punishment. When it's when it's on purpose, then it's called mezid. Mezid meaning it's a purposeful sin, and for that, if a person dies without doing tshuva, as we talked about in our shiur in Gehenom, they enter Gehenom and never leave. Now, it's one of the 3 worst possible sins in all of Judaism and the entire Torah, and it's very, very serious sin, and people must do tshuva. In reality, every single man must take this into the account and do tshuva for it separately from everything else. It's not a regular tshuva, which I'll talk about momentarily. Now, if it's a nocturnal emission, or what they call a wet dream, and there is a sperm that leaves the body during a dream because of some dream that they had, then it's not mezid, it's not a purposeful sin, but nonetheless, it's still a sin. Why? The Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah says, watch your eyes in the morning, so sin doesn't come to you at night. What does it mean, sin doesn't come to you at night? Only reason why you have wet dreams is because you don't watch your eyes during the day. Now, sometimes a person does watch his eyes, but he still has it. Anyone that has done real tshuva for wasting seed, which is a very, very serious and very difficult tshuva, but nonetheless possible, The Rambam himself says it's the most difficult thing in the world to do tshuva for. Most difficult sin. Why? It's very addictive. But nonetheless, it is possible. Hashem did not create a world where you can't do tshuva. He wants you to do tshuva. And He gives you help to do tshuva, like we talked about in the beginning of the shiur. Someone that wants to do tshuva, Hashem helps him. So now, to do tshuva for this usually is a lot of ups and downs in the beginning. So a person will stop, and for a month, or a week, or a day, whatever he stops for, and then he goes back, he does it again. And then he stops again for a month, and then again. And then he goes a little longer the next time, it's 3 months, and then again. Or even if he stops completely after a while, and then 6 months he breaks. And then again he goes for a year, and then he breaks. Or perhaps he stops completely, but he still has the dreams that end up having a seminal emission. But those seminal emissions during the dream become less and less over time. They become less and less over time as the body itself recovers itself, as the soul recovers itself, and also as the Hashem sees that you're very serious about your tshuva. He helps you more and more. But it's not an easy sin. It's not like Shabbat, for example. We just keep Shabbat and you sleep all day on Shabbat and you're fine. Fixing your breed takes a long time, and a lot of the big chachamim say that's the tikkun ador. That's the main thing to do tshuva for in this last generation. So when someone has a wasting seed during a dream of some type, it's still a sin they have to do tshuva for, but it's not considered mizid. It's not considered purposeful, but it's still considered a sin because it is a result of their actions, even if it's something you saw 6 months ago. Even if right now you watch your eyes already for 6 months, you still had that dream and it still led to that. Why? It's because of something you saw 6 months ago, or a year ago, or 2 years ago. And until Hashem gives you the siyat v'shmai to erase it, erase all of that bad stuff from your neshama pretty much, you have to have really serious tshuva. Now, the good news is that doing tshuva for it is very much possible. It just requires a few things. First and foremost, a person needs to understand that Hashem wants you to do tshuva. How do we know? You go to the book of Ezekiel. There's obviously a bunch of different places, but you go to the book of Ezekiel. And Hashem Yitbarach says the following. In chapter 18, verse 32, it says, Ki lo echpotz bamot amet, neum Adonai Elohim ve'ashivu v'chayu. It says, I don't desire the death of a dead person. Says Hashem Elokim, do tshuva, return yourselves, and you'll live. Do tshuva, and you'll live. First of all, we have the explanation of this verse. What does it mean, I don't want the death of a dead person? How does a dead person die? And second of all, what does returning have to do with living? So Rabotai Yekarim, the Mefarshim say the following. It says, when Hashem says, I don't want the death of a dead person, He's telling you that when someone is sinning on a regular basis, someone is leading a wicked life, and is not doing the will of Hashem, in the eyes of Hashem, he's considered dead. So Reshaim, even during their lives, are considered dead. Even though they're living, they may be driving, they may be doing a lot of things, but in the eyes of Hashem, they're dead. Why? They have no olam haba. Their life is temporary. So Hashem says, I don't have an interest, I don't have a desire to make the dead person even more dead. Meaning, I don't have a desire to have this guy that's wicked now stay like this and have no olam haba. Let him do tshuva, and he'll live. What do you mean he'll live? He'll live forever with me. He'll have olam haba. This, by the way, is one of the sources. A lot of people ask, what are the sources in the Torah for olam haba? This is one of the many, many sources in the Torah for olam haba, where he says, let him do tshuva and he'll live. Let him do tshuva and he'll live. Now, how do we do tshuva? What's the ingredients? Now, the verse before this explains the key ingredient to doing tshuva. The key ingredient to doing tshuva, especially for wasting seed. Now, when you arrive in Shemayim, and you tell them, listen, I did tshuva, I kept Shabbat, kosher, talat mishpacha, everything was good, I watched my bleed. Like, yes, you did all of that, but you have Shabbat missing for 5 years. You didn't keep Shabbat for 5 years. or you didn't, before you did tshuva, or you didn't keep Shabbat for 20 years, or you didn't watch your brit for 20 years. So you have to make that up. So first and foremost, to do tshuva, you have to do a few things. Number one, stop sinning. Simple enough, stop. Simple to understand. Two, regret the sin. Talk to Hashem, say Hashem, listen, I know what I did was wrong. I'm sorry. How many times? As long as you still feel pain from it. If you feel that what you did was wrong, keep saying I'm sorry. This is what Idbodedut, for example, is supposed to be really about. It's not just supposed to be about asking Hashem for millions of dollars. For people that like to do Idbodedut, for example, Rabbi Nachman Breslev, and others that talk about Idbodedut, in reality, it's not just about asking for stuff. Hashem is not Santa Claus. It's about doing tshuva. Chatanu avinu pashanu. If you say, I'm sorry, you're opening the gates of heaven. Why? You're showing Hashem that it's good for Him to give you. Why? You're doing tshuva. He wants to give you more than anyone else. So doing tshuva is the second thing, of saying I'm sorry. Now, how do you make up for that lost time before tshuva? The other verse gives you the exact secret. Again, book of Ezekiel, this is chapter 18, starts with verse 30. נאום אדוני אלוהים, שובו והשיבו מכל פשעיכם, ולא יהיה לכם למכשול עוון, השליכו מעליכם את כל פשעיכם אשר פשעתם בם, ועשו לכם לב חדש ורוח חדשה. ולמה תמותו בית ישראל? The word of Hashem says, return and bring others back from all your transgressions, so that they not be for you an obstacle of iniquity. Cast off upon yourselves all the transgressions through which you have transgressed, and make for yourselves a new heart and a new spirit. Why should you die, O house of Israel? So at the end of the verse, he's telling you, I don't want you to die. Why should you just die like this, without doing tshuva? Do tshuva. But how do I do tshuva? You do tshuva and bring the others with you. Meaning, do kiruv. You have to do kiruv in order to do tshuva. You must. Why? He says it right here. So they are not an obstacle of iniquity for you. What does it mean they're not an obstacle of iniquity for you? A few reasons, a few things. Number one, it could be that one of your things that you did caused other people to sin. Because you are mechalel Shabbat, you brought a few people down with you. A few other people started violating Shabbat. That's number one. If you are immodest, you cause other people to behave that way also. So you have to do it. You have to get them to do tshuva. That's number one. Number two, that's how you make up for that missing ingredient. If you come up to the Shamayim with 5, 10, 20 years of missing Shabbat or missing wasting seed, you haven't watched your brit for 20 years, how do you fix it? Ezekiel, the prophet, tells you, get somebody else to do tshuva for wasting seed. Get somebody else to do tshuva for Shabbat. Why? Every time they keep that mitzvah, it goes to your credit also. So now every Shabbat for you is 2 Shabbats. Every time he watches his brit, it's like you watch your brit. If he was to do it 5 times a day like a machine, now it's like you watch your brit 5 times. That means that instead of having a deficit of 5, 10, or 20 years that you missed out yourself because you didn't do tshuva, you show up to Shamayim with a surplus. All the extra mitzvot that you have. This is why the Chovot HaLevavot, we said it on Sunday, but it's worth repeating again. The Rabbeinu Bachye, almost 1,000 years ago, in Sharei Ahavat Hashem, Perek Vav, he says, even if somebody gets to such a high level to fix his own neshama in front of his Creator, and even if he's even gone to the point where he's fixed it so well that he looks like an angel, he looks like the prophet Moshe Rabbeinu, in his midot, atovot, in his good midot, in his good behavior, and how much he sacrifices himself in front of Hashem Yitbarach, and he has this pure love for Hashem, even if someone has fixed himself to that extent, he became a little mini Moshe Rabbeinu. She became a little Sarah Imenu. The Chovot HaLevavot says, even though his marriage will never be like someone who gets other people to come back to Hashem. Will never be like someone who makes the wicked go back and serve Hashem. Never, not a maybe, never, never. You could learn Torah, you go on a kollel, learn from morning to night, and somehow invent 48 hours in a day. Chovot HaLevavot says, it's still, even you got to Moshe Rabbeinu, still not going to be like someone that gets people to do tshuva. Now, getting people to do tshuva does not mean me. Does not mean just a speaker. It also means someone that gives a CD out. It also means that someone that gives $1 to buy the CD. It also gets someone that arranges a lecture. You get 25, 50, 500, 1,000, 200 people show up to a lecture. Somebody does tshuva, ashrecha ve'ashrecha kecha. You get people who do tshuva. There's nobody better than you in the world. There's nothing you can do greater than this. Now, who is this Chovot HaLevavot? Rabbi Yosef Karo, alav hashalom, who wrote the Shulchan Aruch. He had a book separate from the Shulchan Aruch called Magid Yesharim, which was his journal of the conversations between him and the Malach, which was his Chavruta. He had an angel that was his Chavruta, and the angel told him to study Musar every day. What Musar? Study Chovot HaLevavot.